Chekri, what's been your sense? And you've worked with organizations large and small. Um,
Mhm.
what have been developments in the domain of employee experience, and what are those important things that HR would need to focus on?
I think first of all, I'd like to say thank you for Michelle for setting the stage. Michelle talk about something that's really real, that's really critical, right? At this point in time, uh, but I'd like to switch gear a bit to what's the future going to be like after post this pandemic, right? When things get normal. And let me answer Nish's question by first of all give a very brief overview of my experiences. 10 years of multinational companies experiences. I was working for American Express and Visa, and over there I learned the best in class practices. And after which I went to venture on to startup companies. We are talking about e-commerce, Zalora. We are talking about computer gaming companies, Riot Games, and Oriente FinTech company. And over there, I also experienced a very different set of employee experience journey.
Right.
Um, and finally working for a public listed company currently in Singapore. So to answer Nish's question is that, hey, from a perspective of employee experiences, how is it, related to automation and behavioral science? For me, I'm a simple man. Okay, I want to deconstruct the concept to make it clear to everyone. What do we mean by behavioral science and what do we mean by automation? Very first thing, automation, we always think is technology implementing the latest and the greatest tools to get things done faster. But in my mind, I think we should not forget that automation is not about that. It's not about the latest and the greatest, but it's really about implementing processes that are sustainable over time.
Yeah.
And given the right condition, this result is produced each and every time we put it in, right? So that's automation to me. And it's not about just buying off the shelf or buying the latest and greatest. The second
Mm.
thing, the concept of behavioral science, it sounds rocket science, but the truth is that it's really about a simple understanding of how people respond to situation, understanding human nature, right? Um, so with these two concepts, let me give you two simple examples, very quick one. So in my startup journey, when I was in Zalora, we wanted to, it's a young company, and and we wanted to create an automated process of engagement. We wanted people to share the good news that's happening from the seven countries, from Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, Vietnam, Philippines, and Taiwan. And to do so, what we did, it's a very simple ritual that we have done. So essentially, first stop, HR determine what will be the appropriate budget that we have for each country to do whatever you want to engage our employees. Okay, with this set budget, the second thing that we did is that we simply share, curate all your, the wonderful pictures that you have taken in Indonesia when you go for team building, the wonderful, video that you have taken for office party or a celebration of somebody's tenure with the company.
Right.
All these videos and pictures and words of encouragement are consolidated at the corporate level in Singapore. So
Mm.
what we did is that on a monthly basis, I have a HR team member who became a web developer, a publishing expert, collating, curating all this information and distributed it out as a newsletter. But more
Mm.
than that, we actually leveraged the we have PR to help us as well to make sure that our information are sanitized. And the beautiful
Right.
part is this: once we have a monthly newsletter that has been crafted, we
Mm.
slice it and dice it and pump it into LinkedIn.
Right.
So right now, you see Zalora has 200,000 followers, right? But you must imagine there's a lot of work, a lot of posting being posted on LinkedIn. We're talking about
Mm.
three posting a week, right?
Mm.
Automated,
Mm.
right? And
Right.
it's because of the human nature of people's need for recognition. People needs to be, hey, these are the good work we're doing. Let's be proud of our country, our
Mm.
office, right? So that's
Hmm.
behavioral science and that's automation and nothing about the latest and greatest. Okay.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
then a very quick, another one example is in Riot Games. It's a computer gaming company. In Riot
Yeah.
Games, believe in trying to make sure that each individual are, are equipped with the best technical knowledge, the best skill set. So instead, what we did for the team members we have across Southeast Asia and Taiwan, we simply have an open Google spreadsheet and saying
Hmm.
is that, guys, if you want to learn, do whatever you want, go and learn. Okay, put in the investment amount that you need. Okay, and put in what you would deliver. Put in your learning outcomes. How are you going to share it with your fellow peers? How are you going to, translate that learning into actions, into results?
Hmm.
And because we make it publicly within the team, there is
Right.
commitment, right?
Right.
Again, there's behavioral science, and again, there's automation. And
Yeah.
again, there's no latest and greatest in these
Yeah.
two examples.
Now, how does HR go about this whole aspect, right? Keeping doing things, keeping in mind the culture and sort of being directed towards the overall organization goals. Uh, and then, of course, deciding the to bring in what changes. So your thoughts on that, Shafiq?
So Nishit, you basically asked the golden question, right? The question is that, hey, this is the money question. So what can we do in HR? Where should we begin? How should we begin? Right?
Yeah.
And on this note, I would like to make it very simple by focusing on three buckets:
Hmm.
the why, the what, and the how. So let's start with why. We must start with why in order to, because the thing is this: different companies, different goals, different culture, different mix and sizes, right?
Right.
So we need to understand very clearly, number one, what are the organizational goals and why we need to have those goals and the kind of desired culture that of doing things.
Hmm.
So I think the truth is this: either when a company is growing or when a company have new hires joining the company, everyone will have their own cultural baggage. If you
Right.
don't enforce it, ensure that this culture stays, people are going to bring in their way of doing things into your company.
Right.
So starting with why, finding out, what does management wants when it comes down to encouraging what kind of behaviors in this company, rewarding them, even punishing them, right?
Right.
So starting with why and
Right.
what, we need to find out what exactly we need to get things done. How are we going to, automate certain processes? So I think to do the why, we need to find out the what are the sentiments, what are the feedback,
Hmm.
and on that note, I would like to say the left and right and top and down. You got to find out from the left and the right and the top management and also downwards, right?
Right.
And on that note, I think it's like this is Shims. All of us are HR professionals. I want to be very clear down here. This is not just a job for the HRBP.
Yeah.
This is not a job for the HR business partner who are embedded. This is everyone's job. So even if you're just doing payroll processing in one area to doing even office management or claims processing, everyone in HR is not one HR. Everyone in HR means business. If there's
Sure.
no business, there's no HR. So
Sure.
I think if you are the leader of a HR team, make sure each and every one of your team members are very clear what this entails and making sure each and every team member are your antennas, are
Yeah.
your receiving end of this feedback, right?
Yeah.
And everyone has a voice, right? Regardless of seniority.
Hmm.
And the last one on the how, one size doesn't fit all. And in my experiences working for large multinational companies to smaller, exciting younger companies, to the current public listed company, right? I realized one thing is like when a HR team wants to execute initiative
Hmm.
for larger company, I would suggest to start with small wins.
Right.
The truth is that in larger organizations, there are already entrenched processes, entrenched
Hmm.
thinking of doing what needs to be done.
Right.
So why are you rocking the boat?
Hmm.
So there will be a lot of resistance, a lot of scrutiny, a lot of no, okay, to what you're trying to propose.
Yeah.
It's natural. That's behavioral science, right?
Yeah.
So I say start with small wins in big companies, whereas for the smaller companies, start with the biggest wins
Hmm.
because of the entrenchment is not there yet, right?
Yeah.
You need to get the biggest win to get the highest return of investment.
Yeah.
With that, you can roll on to the next one and the next one. So
Yeah.
I hope I answer your question, Nisha.
No, very interesting points about identifying some of these uh, unique ways to incentivize behavior, not really punish bad behaviors, right? But essentially incentivize good behaviors. And that travel example is a brilliant one. There's some great audience questions as well coming up, and I'll leave it for either Chekvi or Michelle to sort of take a stab at this. Monina asks, can you give a specific example on how one can shift from performance being a process vis-a-vis being a journey? What is the single most important step to take? Either one of you to take it up,
So, Michelle,
or
would you like
both.
me to take a step
Oh,
Go.
then after you?
Sure.
go ahead, go
All
Okay.
ahead.
right. Go ahead.
Okay, so I presume this question comes from a place whereby, hey, I have a performance management process that's established that it starts with the year end. Start of the year we do goal setting, then end of the year we do appraisal, and then mid of the year we do a mid-year appraisal, right? And then we do bell curve, and we reward and we punish, and the whole narrative. We all know that, been there, done that, right? So how are we going to change to something that's more meaningful, right? The truth is that just now Anish talked about OKR, right? Not in my experience, not every company can immediately get into that bandwagon on the extreme. Because an extreme, I mean, HR to HR, we all know that OKR, the purest form of OKR is transparency throughout the organization. A person from one department, one country can see the performance targets and performance result of another person in the other spectrum of the other end of the world, right? And that is the true form of OKR. Can everyone implement this? For those of us who have already an entrenched system, my suggestion is just like what I mentioned earlier. If you are in a larger organization, start with the small win. And that small win, in my mind, is behavioral science says people yearns feedback, right? People would like to know is how am I doing, right? Start with that first. Start with getting people, how are we going to get more feedback session in our annual process? Can we inject a session where, there's no recording, there's no need to record this, but we just want to know when exactly the manager and the employee had a feedback session verbally at a cafe. I don't care where, I don't care how, I don't care that it's documented. Just
Yeah,
give your feedback. Start with something really small and
yeah,
start with something that people want. That's
yeah.
feedback. And from there, work your way all the way to the transparency of goals and even results across the company. The
Yeah.
purest form of OKR.
Yeah. Another great question from Lan coming in. How would you describe the linkage between EX and CX, employee experience and customer experience in terms of behaviors, responses, and not just thinking or attitude? Go ahead. I'm leaving this anyone from within the panel to take up and respond to.
Okay, let me try, yeah,
Go
on
ahead.
this. So I think when I was in a startup company, um, employee experience. Initially, I thought employee experience is about having fun. I thought employee experience is about all these wonderful monthly parties that we have. It's about having the most outrageous team building exercise and outings and the the greatest, the biggest and greatest. And that to me when I was experience it, I thought that is employee experience. Then as we get more seasoned, then I realize employee experience is not that at all. Employee experience is about fulfilling career. You know, the thing is that we every day we may be happy, we may not be happy. Doesn't mean that a person not happy is not fulfilled. We
Yeah.
got to find meaningfulness in our job. So in my
Yeah.
mind, to find that meaningfulness in that job, in that work, is this a good company that encouraging great work to happen? And
Yeah.
that itself is employee experience. And that itself equals to customer experience too. Because as a
Yeah.
customer, what I want to buy from a great company, what I want to
Yeah.
buy from a good company, you know, do they have the purpose, the why? And from
Yeah.
there, everything flows. I'm not trying to be
Yeah.
dramatic, but that's what it is, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be so complicated, compartmentalizing. This is employee experience, it's internal and that's external.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
What are we trying to build and how are we going to be good at it? And is
Yeah.
this fulfilling our employees' career?
Quick 2, 3 words, Chakri.
Just a very fast one, and in the interest of time, right? Again, I was trying to say behavior science, if you break it down, is really about understanding human nature, you know, how people respond to situation. And when it comes down to automation, it's really not about finding the latest, greatest, most expensive tool off the shelf. It's all about, you know, finding, you know, trying to you know, the examples I've give, it makes it very clearly the Google Sheet is not the latest and greatest. It's about, you know, understanding how people respond to situation and make sure that condition is there, right? Whichever way possible. A Google Sheet, a copy and pasting of things, you know, the simplest tool. The simpler, the better. The faster you get it implemented anyway. Thank you.